about what we can
Zoom.
Hello? Can you hear me? Hello?
Oops. Nope.
Good afternoon, Clerk Nishii.
Good afternoon, President.
Good afternoon.
Everyone.
I like your book
Everyone's-
background. I saw Chris already here. Dr. August, Dr. Rios also here. So let's go. I know Chris was here. I know for sure.
Yes, I'm present.
Yeah. So now time to go. I think 5:32. So I'm gonna use my hand and say, hey, may I have a motion to excuse board member Mr. Brett Beach and Dr. Michael Eugenio from special meeting due to the personal commitment. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved, Apodaca.
Thank
Second,
you.
Nishi.
Second, Sue.
Thank you. Then your roll call, please.
President Say,
Present?
Vice President Yu,
Here.
Clerk Nishi,
Yes?
Board Member Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Board Member Mr. Beach, Board Member Dr. Eugenio, Board Member Dr. Rios.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you, Danielle. This evening, we will be discussing the following item in closed section: conference with labor negotiator, update on negotiations, public employee appointment, which is equity officer. Clerk Nishi, do we have any public comment on the closed section items?
Mr. Smith, do we have any public comments? Hearing none, I don't believe we have it.
Okay, so I'm gonna have ask the board to, we're gonna move to closed section. May I have a motion to move to closed section?
So move, Sue.
Nishi, second.
Danielle, can you do roll call for me, please?
President Say,
Present, yes.
Vice President Yu,
Yes.
Clerk Nishi,
Yes?
Board Member Dr. Apodaca, Board Member Rios,
Yes.
Board Member Dr. Apodaca.
Yes.
Thank you. Motion carries 5-0.
Okay, thank you. So we'll see you in the closed section. Let me go get my tea real fast, okay?
Why not?
Good evening, everyone. Hope everyone's enjoying your summer. We need to all recharge, especially our staff and teachers and employees for the fall, right? It's we still have a month left, right? Yeah.
Dr. Susha will continue or wait for 6 o'clock?
We should wait until 6 o'clock.
6 o'clock, okay, thank you. Everyone reminds my board member you on the mic is on, so you're the public right now. Six o'clock. So are we ready? Okay,
We are.
okay, I'm going now. Okay. Now the motion and second for board back in the open section.
So moved.
Thank you. Other board member here?
Nishi second.
Okay, thank you. Danielle, please roll call for me, please.
Dr. Apodaca,
Here.
Mr. Nishi,
Present.
Dr. Rios? Dr. Rios? Mrs. Say,
Present?
Mrs. Yu?
Here.
So we have 4 people here anyway, so we can go ahead and continue our meeting. Am I right, Dr. Su? Yeah, because we have the majority there.
Yes,
Yeah, so, okay. So Dr. Rios should be coming in pretty soon. Can I have Clerk Nishi leading us for the Pledge of Allegiance today, please?
Thank you. Please
Thank you.
rise. Look at the flag. Put your hand over your heart. Ready? Begin. I pledge allegiance
Allegiance
to
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic
Which
for
is
which it stands,
one
one nation, under God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
liberty
with
and
liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Clerk Nishi. Thank you. This evening board discussion in the following items. In closed section, conference with the labor negotiators, update on negotiations, public employee employment equity officer. Now we're going since today is a special meeting, so I'm going directly to the action item. Do I have a motion to approve appointment of adult school principal Nancy Amara, Elia Elementary School principal Laura Bellard, and director of pupil support services Socorro Verduzo, I think Verduzo, I'm sorry, promotions and effective July 1st, 2021.
So move, Nishi.
I need a
Second,
second.
Apodaca.
Thank you. Dr. Su, please.
Thank you very much, President Say. You know, I shared with the board members about Nancy Amara, Laura Ballard, as well as Dr. Soko Verduzco. I know that we did it in closed session, but I just wanted to make sure that people understand why we are selecting them. Nancy Amara is very goal-oriented. She's been an assistant principal with our adult school since 2003. She's also perhaps a product of our district. She's been an interim principal for the last 1 year since 2015-16. She was also a teacher on special assignment with an academic advisor to adult school since 2012 through 2015. She has been, again, an adult school academic instructor since 2003 through 2012. She's also been an Aspiring Leaders Training Academy. She's also been a part of the California Adult Education Administrators Association, as well as the new administrators moderated panel. Laura Ballard is a product of our district. She has been a coordinator of our child development program, as well as the Head Start Directors Program. She's been there since 2017. My recommendation is that she will be the new principal at Elliott Elementary School. She's been a secondary program specialist with ABC Adult School, as well as the Department of Academic Services and Curriculum and Instruction since 2014 through 2017. She's been an elementary coach for a year from 2013 through 2014. She's also been a technology coach for Verizon Innovative Learning Schools grant from 2011 through 2013. She graduated from Loyola Marymount University with her Bachelor's of Arts degree in literature. Her Master's of Arts was in elementary education from Loyola Marymount University, and her clear credential was at the University of, again, same place at Loyola Marymount University. The SELPA director, I know we've already approved Dr. Rochelle Chavez, but tonight I want to make sure that people understand why we are choosing Dr. Soko Verduzco, who has a Bachelor of Arts degree in Occupational Studies, a Master of Science in Special Education from Cal State University, Long Beach, a Master of Arts in Education with administrative credential from Concordia University, and a doctorate degree in Educational Leadership from Cal State University in Fullerton. Dr. Verduzco is a product of our district. She attended Burbank, Ross Middle School, and graduated from Gar High School. She's worked for the district for over 30 years as a student helper, a paraeducator, a clerk, a secretary, prior to becoming a special education teacher. Dr. Verduzco worked as a special education teacher for 9 years, 1 year as a program specialist, and for the past 7 years as a special education supervisor. So I hope that all of you can agree that we would like to hire all 3 of these people during this year.
Thank you, Dr. Su. Anyone wishing to make a public comment on this agenda item, please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom at this time. Do we have any public comment?
Mr. Smith?
We do not at this time.
Thank you. Now back to our board discussion. My colleague, do you have any questions? If none, Daniel, please roll call for me, please.
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Next action item, I have a motion to approve out-of-state travel request for Superintendent Dr. Mary Su to attend the AASA Governing Board meeting in Washington, D.C., July 11 to 15, 2021. And Dr. Su is on the AASA Governing Board. Hotel and airfare of $500 and a local car transportation will be covered by AASA. So district will cost up to $500. So may I have a motion and second to approve this?
So move, Sue.
Second, Nishi.
Thank you. Anyone wishing to make public comment on this agenda item? Please use the raise your hand feature on Zoom at this time. Do we have any public comment?
We do not.
Back to the board. Any discussion here? If none, Daniel, can you roll call for me, please?
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes, have a safe trip.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion passes 5-0.
Thank you. Now, may I have a motion and second to amend the action item potential online program for fall 2021 to 2022 to an information item proposed change to independent study education codes, including provisions for online learning. I need a motion and second.
So move, Sue.
Madam President, can we explain that motion a little bit? We're changing it from an action item to an information item right now? I don't
The
understand.
proposal is changed to independent study education codes, including provisions of online learning.
It's changing from an action item to an information
Amend the
item
action
only?
item. Amend the action item potential online program.
That's correct, Clerk Nishii.
Mhm.
We changed it from an information item to an action item for tonight.
Okay, so it's a
Number-
reverse. It's
Yeah.
Right,
changing
reverse back.
it from an information item to an action item, not an action item to an information item. So that's critical. We need to make sure the minutes reflect that.
Dr. Sue, if I can clarify, please. We're changing from an action item to an information item. It is
Okay,
currently listed as an action item.
Mhm.
We are requesting that it change to an information item.
Okay, that's
On the other
why.
hand, just information for you to know today.
That's
It's
correct.
still information item. Am I right, Dr. Valencia?
We're requesting the board to make a motion and approve changing it from an action item
Mhm.
to an information item.
Right.
Okay,
and
that
why?
sounds good.
Correct. The purpose?
We are requesting this change because we were anticipating having the update from the law prior to this board meeting. We did not receive notice to the changes in the law until yesterday, and the governor has not signed and approved those changes. So at this point, we cannot ask the board to take action on proposed law. But we can inform the board of what our intents are based on the law. And we are hoping that the governor signs fairly soon, at which point we will bring back an action item in the form of a revised board policy.
Apodaca, second.
Okay, I understand that. Yeah, right, very good. Any question? I mean, wait a
One-
minute, recorded results, yeah. I know
So
I'm gonna
one-
call Dr. Sue, okay, because before the presentation, I think, Clerk Nishi, do you still have a question on that?
Yes, because I want to know what happens next. I understand that we're going to get a great presentation, and it's only going to be information, which that's great. And our next board meeting is in August something, August 6th.
The
Third,
third-
okay. And so at that meeting, I am wondering or presuming that school is going to be well nigh upon us in August 23rd. And so I'm thinking by August 3rd, as an action item, almost a ratification of what's already going to be happening. Because we're not going to have another special session between now and August 3rd, right?
No.
Okay, so just so I'm clear as to what's happening, that's all. I just need to know.
Yeah, it is tough though, because you're not being signed, so you can't take action, can't prove that. It has to be a way for the government to sign that paper, then it become a appropriate way. So I think the staff presented today is very appropriate, personally. So.
No, I'm not saying it's inappropriate. I'm just wondering what's going to happen on August 3rd when it's an action item. In reality, on August 3rd, it's almost going to be a ratification of the actions that have already occurred, because you can't just start school in 2 weeks and have all your ducks in a row. They have to have been doing things probably before that.
A lot of things are not under our control right now. We never know. I even question about what's going to happen. The Delta COVID right now is in California. What's going to happen to us? Maybe, I don't want to pray for that directions. We don't know what's going to happen. So we have to live day by day. Sometimes today they may sign the paper and then after that they change another one again. So this pandemic.
Without further ado, I don't want to stop the discussion.
Okay, good. So can I have a presentation, Dr. Su? Dr. Su, go ahead. Am I okay with all my board colleague here? Because I need you guys to approve this from action item to information item. So I need, since we have a motion and second on the floor already, now I need to have Daniel to call roll call. Okay, Daniel, go ahead. Roll call for me, please.
I need a second.
Apodaca seconded.
There's a second already. Thank you, Dr. Apodaca.
Okay,
So Daniel, go ahead.
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu,
Yes.
motion passes 5-0.
Thank you, Dr. Su. The floor is you now.
Thank you so much, President Say. Tonight we're just going to give you information about our online program. And I know that Dr. Mayfield has a lot more information. I know she's doing a presentation right now as well. Thank you so much.
Go ahead, Dr. Mayfield.
Thank you. Good evening, Board President Say, members of the board, Dr. Sue, and our community. I appreciate the change from action item to information item. As stated, we are still awaiting the governor's signature. And so tonight we will talk about the proposed changes to the Independent Study Education Codes, which do include a provision for online learning. So let me begin by talking specifically about what those changes entail. First of all, as a reminder to our community, the ABC Virtual Academy that we offered our students and families for this school year, the 2020-2021 school year, is permanently inoperable, which means that we can no longer offer the ABC Virtual Academy as it was previously offered. What the legislators have proposed is that in-person instruction should be provided to students unless there is a need for an alternative learning program. And to address the need for an alternative learning program, Assembly Bill and Senate Bill 130 has already been passed, and we are waiting for the governor's signature. And included in that is changes to the existing independent study law that was really intended to address the needs of students whose health will be at risk by attending school in person. And so these provisions, as stated by the law, are only for the 2021-22 school year. It will require me to bring back to the board a revised board policy and a revised administrative regulation to address all of these changes once they are signed into law by the governor. And so we hope that we will have that in front of the board sometime in August or September. But again, it's premature for us to bring those board policies until the governor actually signs this into law. With that said, we are acting on the information we do have, and included in ABCUSD 130 are the following provisions. Districts are required to offer an independent study program. The independent study program must include daily synchronous instruction for students in TK to grade 3, daily live interaction, and at least weekly synchronous instruction for students in grades 4th through 8th, and at least weekly synchronous instruction for students in grades 9 through 12. So this legislation introduces new terminology that's important for us all to become familiar with. Live interaction is defined as interaction between student and staff for the purpose of, in our case, attendance, but really to make sure that students who are in independent study maintain school connectedness. So it could be wellness check. This could be done virtually. This can be done through a phone call, but it's really to ensure that students who are in independent study still feel connected to the school. Synchronous instruction is pretty much consistent with the term that we've been using in the past, meaning classroom style instruction, involving live, two-way communication between the teacher and student. That can be done in a whole group or small group or one-on-one. The law does not specify how much time or how many hours in the day must be provided through synchronous instruction. It just says that we must offer it daily for students in grades TK through 3rd, and at least weekly for students in grades 4 through 12. Asynchronous means that students will work independently. As I proceed in this presentation, I want to acknowledge the hard work of a committee that has been extremely busy understanding existing board policy, as well as looking at the previous independent study law, and now delving deeper into the new changes based on what's being proposed for the governor to sign. And so while some of these people were scheduled for vacation, I want to acknowledge that they canceled their vacation time to support this effort in creating and establishing an online independent study program. So it's important that I take time to acknowledge their work, because I will be working with them throughout the summer. Coming soon is a web page that you'll find at our main website for our online independent study program. This should be operationalized by July 13th. We're going to ask that our community please look for this sign on the front page, and this is where you will find all information, all updates related to our ABC Online Independent Study Program. As Board Clerk Niishi indicated, that we won't have another board meeting to August 3rd, but we'll still be moving forward with the information that we have. And so to stay in tune with what we're working on and the direction we're going, the upcoming meetings, you'll find that information at this web page. It'll say ABC Online Independent Study Program. To give you a sense of the timeline that we're working with, I want to thank the board for agreeing to tonight's special board meeting, which really created the platform for us to communicate these updates to the law. That's also a requirement of the law, is that we notify our families in our communities that they do have an option for online independent study. And so we are meeting that requirement of the law with tonight's board meeting. We are planning to have family information meetings. Those meetings will be conducted all virtually. Some of those meetings will be pre-recorded, and so parents can watch them at their own, based on their own availability. There will also be Q&A meetings held so that we can assure that families are receiving the information regarding our online independent study program. Those meetings and that information will be scheduled for release the week of July 19th to July 24th. But again, because some of it will be recorded messages, families can access it at any time. Our enrollment window will open July 26th. And so as you can see, it's coming very quickly. So any family that's seriously considering online independent study should really make it a priority to attend the family information meetings so that they have accurate information and that they're able to make a decision in the best interest of their child. Our enrollment window will remain open, but we are targeting the week of July 26th through July 31st as our opening for families to submit their applications, indicating that they want to enroll in the online independent study program. Later in the presentation, I'll talk specifically about the application and enrollment process. Part of the law requires families to sign an independent study written agreement, and that written agreement must be signed prior to students starting school. Included in the law was a provision that allows families to sign that electronically. And so there will be one-on-one meetings or small group meetings with families to talk about the content of the independent study written agreement, which I'll also address later in this presentation. And that must be signed before their child can actually begin the program. The first day for all students in ABC, meaning students who are returning to school in person, as well as families who are choosing the online independent study option, is August the 23rd. So let's talk more about our instructional program model. The instructional program model will adhere to the independent study model with students and teachers interaction occurring online. So again, it's important for us to have some common terminology when we're talking about our online independent study program. This is a voluntary alternative program. It's not a school, it's a program. Students will complete course requirements during both synchronous and asynchronous instructional time. And I want to make it very clear that the majority of the students' time will be asynchronous. The majority of the students' time will be asynchronous. Students and parents are required to attend scheduled meetings. So all of this is consistent with the new law. Online, that term is being used to refer to live synchronous instruction. Students will use online platforms that we're familiar with and have been using in ABC, such as Google Classroom. They'll use that to access their curriculum and their assessments and their assignments, as well as to submit completed work. The academic rigor for our online independent study program must be equivalent to the quality and quantity of a traditional classroom learning environment. And that's why it's critical that parents and students understand the commitment that they're making when they're signing this independent study written agreement, because students will be expected to spend at least as much time on independent study assignments as they would if they were in school. The difference is they'll be working on most of those assignments independently, asynchronously. All students will be assigned a full day's worth of work that is comparable to the core curriculum assignments in schools had they been in school. So again, this is not an easier program. It's equal in rigor. The difference is students are working with their parents and guardians for the majority of the day independently. This is a quote that's coming from CDE website, and I like this last statement. To do otherwise will put students at a disadvantage with regards to their readiness for future schooling and careers. And so the responsibility to the district is to ensure that this instructional program for students in independent study meets the same measure of academic rigor comparable to students who are attending school in person. Part of our model will require students to check in daily for attendance and school announcements. The independent study written agreement is like a contract. This is a requirement of the law. In the law, it stipulates specifically what must be included in this written agreement. We have the responsibility of stating what the academic goals are, establish clear expectation for work products, which include assignments and tests. Part of the day will be synchronous, but the majority of the time will be asynchronous, and we still are required to meet the instructional minutes. So for TK to kindergarten, students will be assigned up to 180 minutes worth of work every day. For grades 1 through 3rd, students will be assigned up to 230 minutes of work every day. And for students in grades 4 through 12, they will be assigned up to 240 minutes of work every day. And I'm emphasizing again that the majority of that time will be spent asynchronously. Those instructional minutes will include the PE requirement as well as the requirement for English language development for those students who have been, who are identified as English learners. Also included in the independent study written agreement is a requirement for a meeting with a teacher. Now, in the secondary, students will have more than one teacher. So there's potentially more than one meeting that parents and students will have for students who are in middle school or high school. The intent of those meetings is to provide feedback to students on their progress, to respond to questions regarding their work progress, to connect students to additional resources. So if a student is in need of tutoring support or intervention support, that's part of that meeting time to talk about the student's progress and to connect them to those resources. The time could be used to assign students their next work or to collect work from students. We are anticipating that for district and state assessments, that those assessments will be taken in person at a designated test location. The district will provide a device and an internet hotspot to students who need this. They'll be asked to indicate a need for this at the time of their enrollment. If a student is in need of intervention or tutoring support, that will also be provided. During asynchronous time, students have the flexibility of moving through their coursework based on their ability, the length of time that they need, the support they need to complete their assignments. So if a student is really good in math, they may only spend 30 minutes on their math because they're able to move through that very quickly and they can get the work done. And if they need more time on language arts, then they may spend 2 hours on their language arts assignment. So that flexibility is still there for students during the asynchronous time. But it's important for families to know that teachers will be assigning a full day's worth of work each day of school. Some of it will be done synchronously, but the majority of it will be done asynchronously. In this next section, I'll talk more about how students and families can enroll in our independent study program. As I shared earlier, we will have our ABC online independent study website. Web page will be up and running, and that's where families will go to find all information pertaining to this program. We do encourage that families make it a priority to attend the information meetings because they'll get more information. Tonight is just a general overview. The details are still being worked out, and those details will be more available at those meetings that are coming. The application process will be online, so parents will submit their application for the online independent study using an online platform, and they'll need to sign the independent study written agreement, which will be done, an electronic signature will be accepted. Parents will also have to disenroll at the school that their child was scheduled to attend in August. And so parents cannot have enrollment in 2 different locations. They cannot be enrolled in a traditional school simultaneously with enrollment in our online program. So the family has to make a choice. And if they're choosing the online program, they will have to disenroll from their traditional school that they had planned to attend in August. With that disenrollment, we want to make it very clear and be very transparent to families the decision that they're making. And so there will be agreements that parents will need to sign indicating that they understand the decision that they are making. When a family disenrolls at a school for any reason, so if a family was to decide to move out of state, if a family decided to move to a different district, anytime a family disenrolls, they're not guaranteed a spot back at that school when they decide, or if they decide they want to return to that school. So that same practice policy applies in this case. So when a family checks or chooses the online independent program, they're also disenrolling at their school. We will not hold the spot for that student at the school. And so they're not guaranteed a spot for this school year, 2021-22 school year. And they're not guaranteed a spot for the next school year because we're going to fill that spot. And when we fill that spot, if that spot is filled by a student who's continuing to the next school year, there may still not be availability for that student if they decide they want to return. Students cannot go back to the school where they're disenrolled to access their programs or activities at that school. Students will follow the district's re-enrollment process to return to the school that they were scheduled to attend in August. So if a family is wanting to return to that school, they will follow the same standard process that we use for all students, regardless if they're re-enrolling because they moved back from out of state, they are coming back to ABC from another district, they're coming back to ABC from a private school. We already have an established process for re-enrolling, and we will follow that process as it applies to this case. That process is really simple. If there is space, we take you. So if you're a third grader and there's space at the time that you want to go back to your third grade school, we will take you. If there is no space, if there's no space, then we create a wait list, and then you're called once a space becomes available. So the process is very simple. If there's space, we take you. If there is no space, then your name will go on the wait list. So at the time when families are filling out their application for online enrollment, they can indicate at that time that they would like to return back to their school next school year, and they will automatically be put on the wait list for next school year. And if there's space, they'll be welcomed right back in. But if not, then they'll have a sense of what their order is in terms of the wait list. So that's consistent with our practice throughout the district for any situation in which a student disenrolls from our schools and decides to re-enroll. So this next section is really important for our families to understand. And that is students will have access to supports and resources, but because independent study is a program, we need to have it be affiliated with schools in ABC school district. Because as I said earlier, it's not a separate school, it's a program, and it has to be housed or associated or affiliated with an existing school. So we have identified 3 schools that our online independent program will be affiliated with. Carver Elementary School, Tessoff Middle School, and Cerritos High School. Those are the 3 schools in which students will be affiliated with if they're in the elementary program for online, or the middle school program for online, or the high school program for online. Now, the reason why these schools are being identified or selected is because they are centrally located in our district. And because students can access resources and supports from the school that they are affiliated with, we wanted to make sure that there was a sense of conveniency for families who will need to potentially drive to a site to access some services or programs. And so central schools were a priority in making that decision. And these schools are fairly central when you look across ABC as a whole. What's important for our families to understand is that their student does not have a right to attend these schools in person during the 2021 school year. So if I am a student in the online program affiliated with Carver Elementary School, and I decide that I want to have my child return back to in-person school, they don't go to Carver, they go to their school of residence, the school that they were a resident, their resident school is the school that they will return to if they were to make that decision mid-year. So they're not entitled to a spot for in-person at the schools that we have identified here. They are not a new student. These schools are not the new homeschool for these students. Because this is a program, we're required to have it be affiliated with a comprehensive school because we want to make sure that the students, especially at the high school level, are at a accredited school where the coursework has been WASC accredited, which allows students to apply for four-year colleges. And we want to make sure that they're at a comprehensive school that has comprehensive programs like sports, clubs, and activities. And so again, in being affiliated with the school, that is not their new home school, and they do not have a right to attend in person at that school unless it is their school of residence and their space. To further clarify this, we want to make it clear that the ABC Online Study Program will have its own administrative staff, teachers, and clerical support. So in our example here, Mr. Walker is the principal of Cerritos High School, but he will not be the principal of the ABC Online Independent Study Program that's affiliated with Cerritos High School. We will identify a separate administrator who will oversee the Online Independent Study Program that's affiliated with Cerritos High School. We are going to designate a location for the staff at one of our district locations to be determined. The administrative staff and teachers and clerical support will be responsible for the day-to-day school operations. So they'll have their own phone line. So if a parent wants to call the school, the online school, they will have a separate phone and they will call that number to reach the clerical support there or the administrative staff at that number. They'll be responsible for the instructional program for the online program. And then they're also responsible for providing students access to the resources and supports that are available. So if a student needs tutoring, then the administrative staff for our ABC Online Studies program will connect that family or that student to tutoring support or intervention support or mental health support or nursing support. And so our students in our online independent study program will still have access to the resources that are being made available to students who are in person, but they will go through the administrative staff of our online school who will make sure that they are able to access those resources. So I want to be clear that families really have to think carefully about their own individual student, as well as their own availability in deciding to choose the ABC Online Independent Studies program. We want to be very transparent in saying that it is not the virtual academy. And so if parents are considering this option because they believe it's going to look like the virtual academy, you'll be disappointed because it's not the virtual academy. And we're not offering the virtual academy. And that takes me back to my very first slide when I indicated that the law that permitted us to offer the virtual academy is no longer operable. So we don't have the option to even offer that to you. So I don't want families to sign up for this expecting something that they're not going to receive. And so the ABC Online program is not appropriate for all students, and mainly because the majority of the students' day is asynchronous with them learning independently. So success indicators for online independent study program are students who are highly motivated, organized, sufficiently academically prepared, and independent workers. Ideally, the student academic performance is at or close to grade level. We do recognize that some students may need intervention and tutoring support, and as I've said multiple times throughout the presentation, those resources will be made available to students. In addition to the students' readiness, there's also critical that the parents and guardian and caregiver are also ready to partner in their child's education, and that they are available and capable of teaching and supporting instruction, and that they can create the conditions for students to learn at home and are available to attend the regularly scheduled meetings. So these are success indicators for online independent study program. that we would have our families to consider and making a decision to apply for this program. I'd like to end by noting some important dates to remember. In the upper left-hand corner, again, that's what you will find on our district front page, will be a link to our online independent study program. That link should be active as of July 13th, and that's what we'll ask you to please go to for updates and for additional information. You'll also find at the online independent study webpage the information regarding our upcoming virtual meetings, which will take place the week of July 19th to July 24th. Again, some of those meetings will be recorded so that they're available for you to watch at your convenience. There will also be Q&A meetings that families can attend for more information. July 26th through July 31st is what we're calling our open enrollment week. And we're hoping that families who are considering this as an option, that they would apply for the program during that week. During the week of August 9th through 19th, virtual meetings will be held with family members and the student to sign their independent study written agreements and so that students can be ready to be in school on the first day, which is August the 23rd. So that is our information item for tonight on the changes to the independent study law. And those changes do include a provision in which we are required to provide some synchronous instruction, some synchronous live instruction. The amount of time that will be for each grade level has yet to be determined.
Thank you, Dr. Mayfield. I think we're going to have a little bit open to the public comments, right? Okay, so go ahead, Clerk Nishi. You have to read it out, the public comment, the person wishing to. Go ahead.
Thank you, Madam President.
Thank you, sir.
Person wishing to address the board should provide public comments through the public comments section via the following method: myabcusd.org/board meeting, and use the link or phone number to participate in the Zoom meeting. If you're using Zoom, please use the raise your hand function during the public comments portion of this agenda or during the public comments time after the agenda item. Using the phone, use *9 to raise your hand during the public comments portion of the agenda or during the public comments time after agenda time item. Then use *6 to unmute yourself when you're called on to speak. The *6 is the critical part there. Comments will be presented during the public comments section, which is limited to 1 hour, and each speaker to one presentation in 5 minutes unless the board wishes to waive the time limit. Those who have a group concern are encouraged to select a spokesperson to address the board. Comments submitted regarding a specific agenda item will be presented following the staff comments and prior to the board's discussion and taking action. Adverse remarks about a person's race, ancestry, ethnic group identification, religion, color, national origin, sex, sexual orientation, gender, mental or physical disability, or age may not be made. Concerns presented to the board will be followed up and addressed by the appropriate staff. Mr. Smith, is there any particular public comments in general?
We have one. Actually, we have several now. I'm going to allow the first one, who is Lupe. Please go ahead and unmute, and then you will have 5 minutes.
Yeah, I had a question. If we were to decide to participate in the virtual program, would we have the option to move back to attend school later in the school year, or is that for the entire school year?
Thank you. That concludes the public comment portion.
Now back to the board discussion. Do we have any question or concern? Please raise your hand, board colleague. Okay, we have right now I have Clerk Nishi first and VPU second.
And Rios also, please.
Okay, Rios third. Okay, go ahead, Clerk Nishi.
So previously, when we had the online academy, it was a class setting. This is not going to be class setting. It's an independent study section. So will there be any if they're taking a similar class, such as say science, will there be a method or way for the students to collaborate like they had done previously, or is it just basically impossible? Will there be a mechanism or way to do that?
So the synchronous live instruction time may be scheduled with students. It all depends on the number of students. And so if only one student is signing up, then we don't have a class. If there's 30 students sign up and they all need chemistry, then potentially it may be structured that way, but the law doesn't require us to structure it that way. Those are the kind of details that we'll be ready to address at those family meetings. But it could be a structured classroom if we have enough students that want a classroom, but it could also be one-on-one meetings. And so how the law defines synchronous live instruction is a classroom setting that can be one-on-one, small group, or whole class. So all those are possible.
So because of the isolation of the pandemic and isolation of students in general for the past year and a half, I'd encourage us to look for options that would enable students to have collaborate, because that's the way of the future, right? We're not just tested on our own, we're tested in groups, and we're learning to work with each other. It's not just the teacher in the front, it's all of us together. So I'm hoping that we can encourage that when we schedule these particular classes. That's all, thank you. But that's also thank you for the work.
I want to say that I agree with you, Board Clerk Ishii, and the law also talks about the daily life interaction for the very point that you're bringing up. The very point that they require us to have that for 4th through 8th, and it's automatically part of TK the 3rd, is for that maintaining school connectedness, which is defined as a wellness check. And so what you are expressing is consistent with the law, is saying that we have to offer in some format.
Dan? Are you okay now? Clerk Michi, are you finished? Okay. VP, Ms. Yu?
Thank you, Madam President. I wanted to ask a question, which I thought it was a very important question, which was answered in the presentation, but just to clarify that commentator Lupe asked about if you're enrolled in the independent study and you wanted to switch during the middle of the school year, how would that work?
So we are asking parents to consider this as a choice for a year. And if they are deciding at some point that they would like to transition, then they should think about transitioning at a regular break in the school year, meaning a grading period. And so to transition at the trimester for elementary students, or to transition at the quarter or the semester, because the independent study program is going to be running in its own, imagine 2 train tracks. And so when you jump tracks, your kid may be behind what the students who are in person are working on, or they may be ahead. And so it puts your child at a disadvantage to move over or move back in person, and there's not an alignment of the 2 programs that are moving at the same pace. And so if parents would want to transition back to in-person, we would highly recommend that those transitions happen at a natural transition in the school year, which is those grading periods. But with that said, if they wanted to transition before then, they could, because the law allows it. We would advise against it, because we don't think that will be in the best interest of their child because of the potential of being behind in school or ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Valencia. That does make sense because, you know, there's a lot of admin work that's behind the scene. We need a student head count, depending on how many students enroll, how many teachers will be allocated for each school. There's a lot of things behind the scene. And the more information that we have, it helps in the administration management for sure. And on that note, you know, the law, which we are bound to align by the law, the AB 130, where TK to grade 3, the daily synchronous instruction, grade 4 through 8, daily live interaction, grade 9 through 12, at least a weekly synchronous instruction. My question is, would that depend on how many students enroll in the independent study, correct?
So we're required to provide that if there's only one student. We're required to provide that if there is 100 students, 200 students. So we are required to provide that regardless of the number of students. What the law does not dictate to us is the length of time for that synchronous instruction block.
Okay.
So a synchronous instruction block can be 45 minutes, an hour, 20 minutes. So the law does not dictate the time for that synchronous instruction time.
I see. So, okay, because I'm just looking at the management and the business side. And if you only have, you know, 2 students in grade 4 through 8, to provide a daily live interaction, that's going to be tough. And that's going to be costly also. But if the law requires it, then we do have to work towards that. And I know that this is very, very difficult because during the pandemic for a year and a half, I know many families really struggled. And I think that it would be best for each family to really talk to the principals, talk to the counselors before making a final decision, because it is a very, very important decision. And I know that some students will thrive in the independent program, but many students will be better off in person because they need that in-person structure. So it's not an easy decision, and to go back and forth is just not going to be helpful for the student nor the school. It is my opinion. Yeah. So that was my question about the business side of it. If there's only one student, to allocate one teacher for that one student, that sounds very, you know, difficult. I guess it all depends. Everything's up in the air, right? It all depends after we get the enrollment during, you know, towards the end of July, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Correct.
Well, good luck, Dr. Valencia. More changes and transitions with the changing laws. My goodness, I'm just
Yes.
I'm just concerned, but because I'm also concerned for the rest of the students that's coming back in person and all the different learning pace that the students will come with. And I do feel for all the teachers that they're going to have to tackle with a lot of the pressure. But yeah, let's work diligently to really meet the students' needs, because the students are going to need a lot of support when they do come back, you know, after a year and a half. So we're here to support you too, everyone, the staff and the teachers. Thank you. That is all, Madam President.
Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Rios, please.
Thank you, Madam President. So yeah, I mean, the law requires us to provide an online program. There are going to be parents that are absolutely going to be needing this as an option. I think that our efforts are going to have to center on the idea that this is a program that's being offered for necessity, not convenience, and not for the convenience of families or for students, because we should all be very excited that we are opening up and that our schools are welcoming back all students full time. And so again, our efforts should be centered on that. We need to do a better job of letting families know that our schools will be safe, that there will be protocols in place to allow for school to be as normal as possible. I just came back from Arizona and I was pretty impressed because they were running, I mean, every time I got in the car, I heard an ad from their Department of Education, really excited and welcoming kids back to school in the fall. And again, that's what we need to do. I mean, I think the fact that our numbers were low for when we reopened is that parents were hesitant, and there was still that fear out there about where our school's going to be safe. So I think we really need to pivot. We really need to shift our efforts, and a lot of this responsibility is going to fall on the sites to be excited and to welcome kids back and to want to have kids on school campuses, all of them, or as many as possible, because we know that if we really do want to do what's best for students' academic and social emotional well-being, well, that happens in person. So that was just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Rios. That was really a great point. I really 100% support that. I think staff need to be pay attention on that. How do we approach the parents, especially this is the summertime now, and your meeting's on July 19 to 24, am I right? So how we're gonna, the virtual information meeting with the parents?
That's
I mean,
correct.
how do we get hold of them? You know, some may out of the state.
Yeah, so so Mr. Smith was part of our committee, and he's already created a communication campaign that is a dual platform. It addresses exactly what Dr. Rios was talking about, making sure that we're, first of all, telling our families that we will have traditional in-person school, and schools will be a safe place for students to come and learn, engage. But as well as we are required by law to inform families of this other option, which is our independent study option option for families who are interested. And so he's planning to use mailers as well as news blast, as well as social media updates, as well as we call it robocall, calling to our families and telling them about the meetings. And so he has a plan that he will be executing on behalf of keeping our communities informed.
Yeah, we do need to know the percentage of connecting to the parent. If just only 10%, 20%, I mean, most parents didn't get the message that about this, the changes there. So I think will be very interesting to learn, to hear how many parents will be approached. My question on page 2, because we're going to have a revised board policy administration regulation that will be on August 3rd, right?
So we are waiting for the governor to sign. And so it's best that if we indicate sometime in August or September, just so that it'll be posted on the board agenda. It'll be an action item. And so as soon as we have the information, as soon as we have the revisions, the board will be aware of it, that it's coming.
To me, it's like after effect. Another concern about the guarantee come back to school. Right now the school of choice already closed, Dr. Valencia, right? And
Correct.
then the open to the outside the district until when?
So the schools of choice by board policy is closed.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is that over the course of the summer, families move.
Mm-hmm.
And so when families move, what happens pre-COVID, what's happened for 33 years in ABC, is that if there's openings, then we fill them. They can be filled by a new resident that moves into the community. They can be filled by permissive work-related permits. So someone is working in a community and want their child to go to school there. They can be filled by someone who's doing military service and they're just relocated to the area. It could be filled by someone who is experiencing homelessness and they live in the area. It can be filled by a family who's a foster care family. And so it can be filled by any student who is part of that normal movement of people coming into the district at a time period that happens over the course of a school year.
So, we're talking about we're open to those to the outside, then that will be for 2021 to 2022 school year only. But again, when it happened in 2022 to 2023, the independent no longer being used by the parents, what's going to happen to those students?
Yeah, so when we fill a spot, if they're a resident, they're entitled to that spot. Right? If they are coming on a permissive work permit, they're entitled to that spot for that whole grade span. So if they come as a third grader, they're entitled to stay at that school through grade 6.
Through
And
grade 6.
they don't have to apply again until they're ready to go on to middle school. And so we're bounded by other laws that we have to adhere to. So we can't just kick a kid out because someone else wants their spot back. We
So
have
for the-
laws that we must adhere to, and the other laws entitle that family, once they enroll into the school through a permit or residence establishment, becomes their school for the grade span.
So for the independent student decide to come back to school on the 2022 to 2023, they guaranteed a spot, but not exactly the homeschool. I mean, may not in the homeschool, may not. Because if the spot fill out, they might not go back to the homeschool. They have to go to other school, not their homeschool. Then what about the transportation? Who's providing that?
So let me repeat what you just said.
Okay.
So if a student chooses the online program and then next year they want to return to their school of residence,
Right.
if there is room, we'll take them.
Mhm.
Okay, so I want to be real clear that if there's room, they get to go back.
Yeah.
If
There's no room.
no room, we can place them on a wait list at that school, their school of residence, and then we will offer them another school to say, here is another school option for you. Typically, we call that over enrollment, and the district provides busing transportation when students fall into that category.
Okay.
And so we would offer them, there's room at this school, there's room at this school. So we'll tell them where there is room close to their school of residence. And then they will remain on the wait list. And as soon as there's an opening, then they'll receive a phone call and say, we have an opening now. Do you want to come down or do you want to wait till next year?
Thank you so much. That cleared a lot. I think just like Dr. Rio just mentioned about it, really is on all our shoulder right now. Make sure the parent understand this independent study and what is in-person education. And well, I hope the next one, when you come back and present it to us, please try to mention something about safety. What is our prevention safety issue? How we're going to enforce on that? That we really appreciate it. I see our VP, Ms. Yu, also raise your hand. Go ahead.
Yes, thank you, Madam President. I echo with Dr. Rios that this online is very critical during this post-pandemic, because I know that I understand all families have different needs. We want to campaign and encourage our students to come back and welcome them and get the excitement going. But I'm sure there are families out there where the students are not ready to come back for multiple reasons.
Mhm.
Every family have different needs. Should there be families who are torn and they're struggling to make a decision, where should they call? Their homeschool principal? Who can they reach out to discuss their needs, to have that consultation or a counseling?
So coming soon, we'll be identifying the administrative staff for our ABC Online Independent Study Program, and that's who they should reach out to have all questions related to the ABC Online program. So that's who they would contact. But the main source would be to watch the information meetings, because the intent of those meetings are to address the questions that we know our families have, the specifics and details that they want. And so that is the intent of those information meetings, is to give that level of details to our families. But the person that they would contact will be the administrative staff for the Independent Study Online program.
Another question. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Most of the parents, for example, elementary schools, the parents will reach out to the elementary schools or middle school. And then when they call high school, it always there's only one number. So is there a way, we can inform all the secretaries, the administrative assistants, and all the schools, should they get a call regarding questions of online, that, direct those families to certain person and their number?
Absolutely. We could make sure.
Yes, please. Thank you very much.
Has the staff, the principal, secretaries being educate this presentation. So we should speak all the same language, you know, because I don't want that when parent call, I don't know anything about it. There was no change. You know, I think we really need to make sure the staff know about the changes. So that way we can give the right information to them. Do we have any questions from my colleague here? Clerk Nishi, do you have any question anymore? Dr. Rios?
I
Okay,
do not, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you. I just want to make sure I call everyone. VPU? Any more
I'm good.
questions?
No,
Okay.
I'm good. Thank you very much.
Dr. Apodaca?
Not at this time, Madam President. Thank you.
Thank you, because you know we're on the Zoom. That's why I want to thank you, Dr. Mayfield. Really wonderful presentation. Even just information at least let us know what the future is going, the directions. And I also want to thank you, Dr. Su, and your cabinet working very hard to present today. And it's just summertime too. And thank you very much. So in that case, I'm going to be move the meeting to adjourn. Can I have a motion and second, please?
So moved, Apodaca.
Thank you.
Second, Rios.
Okay, and Daniel, please roll call for me, please.
Dr. Apodaca,
Yes.
Mr. Nishi,
Yes.
Dr. Rios,
Yes.
Mrs. Say,
Yes.
Mrs. Yu.
Yes.
Motion
And move to
passes.
adjourn. Thank you. And good night. Thank you very much. You have a good day. Bye.
Good night, everyone.
Say-
Goodbye.
Good night,
Have a
everyone.
safe summer.
You too, Madam President.
Wow.
Bye.
Can't believe it.
Okay, bye. Thank you, Scott. Thank you. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Good
Danielle.
summer, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Joe, and thank you, Smith.